Hi, welcome to the 757Teamz High School Football Chat. I'm Jami Frankenberry.
And I'm Larry Rubama.
The show is brought to you by our sponsors at Lionsbridge Financial Advisors, investing and planning for clients throughout Hampton Roads at lionsbridgefinancial.com. So Larry, we have a new number one in South Hampton Roads. It's a familiar team. It's the Oscar Smith Tigers. I guess the big question is, can Oscar Smith stay on top?
I see them. I don't see anybody unseating them. They're there now. I don't see anybody in the district. They might have a couple of challenges, but in terms of knocking them off, I think they're there for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I'm not sure a team wants to be on top. You know, Bishop Sullivan started out, they were number one for 2 weeks in a row. They lost both of those games. Lake Taylor was number one last week. They got trounced by Freedom up in Woodbridge. So we'll see how Oscar Smith does at the top. But yeah, I think Oscar Smith schedule lays out nicely. You know, they have 92 straight Southeastern District wins. They have a big game this week against Grassfield, which we'll get to. But first, let's take a look at last week's games. You know, Tallwood against Ocean Lakes out in the Beach District. The Dolphins won 41-6, and they're 3-0, playing really well under Joe Jones.
And they are. And that was a good, tough game. They got to see what they can do. They beat Tallwood. Now they set them up for the game against Salem. So they're rolling right now. Joe Jones has that team playing well right now.
Yeah, Joe Jones is in his second season. He took over for Chris Scott after Chris Scott went over to Bishop Sullivan. I know you talked to Joe earlier this week. What did he say about that early start at 3-0?
He likes where they're going right now. He says, you know, he had the first year behind him. Now things are running a lot more smoothly. He's getting his techniques in there. He's got his players that he feels like they know what to do. And he feels good about the way the program is progressing right now. And he's excited about the future for sure.
Yeah, another game last week that you were at was the Western Branch at Kings Fork. Now, Western Branch wins 23-20, but Kings Fork really dominated possession. They dominated statistically, but they couldn't finish.
They couldn't finish. They had like 300-something yards. It was like 395 yards total offense compared to Western Branch, which had about 195. But the key for Kings Fork was they just undisciplined. 19 penalties. 19, and of all those 19, at least 6 or 7 of them were 15-yarders. You just can't have that. And they got to be kicking themselves thinking, we should be undefeated right now and rolling. And now we got a loss. But you know, it's a long season, but still, that was a game you have to win. But Western Branch, I give it to them. They really battled. They hung in there throughout the whole game, and they played well when it counted at the end of the game.
Yeah, Casimir Hutchinson, which, by the way, becoming my favorite name of the season so far, Casimir. He is 5 feet 5 inches, but he was tall in the second half, wasn't he?
A bowling ball, that's what I called him. I mean, he had negative yardage through the first half. Second half, he came out, rushed for like 82 yards, but it was that last drive. He popped off 3 good runs, including one on 4th and short that he got that enabled the drive keep going, and it ended up producing that game-winning touchdown by Briquan Harrell. But they look good right now. They have a lot of confidence. I was over there this week, and they have a lot of confidence now going into the rest of the season.
Yeah, the other game, I don't think it was a surprise that Colonial Forge won, but they really came down here and handed it to Grassfield. 49-0, they just blew the Grizzlies off the field. And, Colonial Forge, we knew they were a state title contender. They've been down here to play Oscar Smith a few years, last couple years, but that was a pretty good trouncing.
It was, and I'm sure the Grassfield coaching staff is saying, let's use this as a measuring stick. Now they probably want to just forget about this game, throw away the tape, and just start focus on the Southeastern District.
Yeah, Freedom up in Woodbridge. They're a Class 6 team. Lake Taylor was number one. They went up there and really got handed a big loss. It was 58-7. How does Lake Taylor bounce back from that?
Coach Sawyer, Hank Sawyer, he always likes to play those tough games all the time. They got another one coming up against Phoebus later on this month as well. But these games prepare them for the playoffs. You know, he's looking at, let's take our lessons, learn from this, as well as it's a young team still. The Titans still have several of their linemen who aren't back, who are injured. Again, it's going to be a learning experience for them. They'll learn from this and keep going. But I think they'll be fine. They'll be fine.
Yeah, well, that's a look at last week's games. We're going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back to talk about this coming week's games.
You embody dedication, sacrifice, and commitment. You are an elite athlete. You know the difference superior coaching makes. Lionsbridge Financial Advisors is here to be your financial coach. We'll help you pack for your athletic journey by gathering a complete picture of where you are and where you want to go, and by working with other trusted professionals on your behalf.
Okay, we're back. Larry, let's take a look at this week's game. Some really big games. I think you could kind of dub this week rivalry week. Easy for you to say. We got some big games. Grassfield, Oscar Smith, I think it's the best rivalry in South Hampton Roads. This week, though, Grassfield comes in 0-2. Trying to break that streak. They've been close to breaking that streak, but this one might be a tough game for the Grizzlies.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very tough game. I mean, they've been close with Oscar Smith several times, taking them to the wire, but I think this one's going to be Oscar Smith. They're going to roll. Oscar Smith knows it. They're trying to get their momentum back as well. After losing the season opener, they won last week, and they're trying to get on the roll right now. I know Oscar Smith is definitely looking toward the playoffs and winning another Southeastern District title.
Yeah, Oscar Smith beat the Grizzlies 26-21 last season. You know, Grassfield has come close a couple of times, just couldn't get over the hump against Oscar Smith, but that's a rebuilding Grassfield team, so I think they're going to have a much more difficult time. You know, it's a rivalry game, so I don't think it'll be a blowout, but I'd be shocked if the Tigers don't win that by a couple of touchdowns. The other game out in Virginia Beach, that's a rivalry game. Ocean Lakes at Salem. They're both 3-0, both in the South Hampton Roads top 5. This is another big game, Larry.
Yeah, this is a chance for Salem this time to play a tough team. Let's see what they're made of. I mean, they beat Kempsville early. They beat Princess Anne. They beat First Colonial. Now this is their first tough game to see what they can do. You know, their offense hasn't looked great. I mean, I know that Kaylon Black has done well. Now the defense, though, has been carrying them. I mean, they just seem to do really well on the defense, hold the other team, see if they can beat them. But, you know, we know that Ocean Lakes has some talent as well with Tyler Brown and playing well, and as well as their quarterback, Xander Jedlick. So it's going to be an interesting game between the defense of Salem going against the offense of Ocean Lakes.
Yeah, Kaylon Black has 459 rushing yards for Salem. But, you know, Sean Wilson, he's a defensive-minded coach. He always has a good scheme. And Ocean Lakes has they've had some pretty good variety running the ball, passing the ball. So we'll see how that game matches up. I know we'll both be there Friday night to see that one. The other game, now we have not talked about this rivalry meaning something in a long time. Deep Creek at Western Branch. It's nice to have the Hornets and Bruins playing a meaningful game. You wrote this week, or you're going to write this week, about that big rivalry. I know you were out at both practices this week. What's the vibe in Chesapeake?
Everybody's excited. You know, I talked to some of the legends. Deion Dyer, great running back at Deep Creek, talked about what the game, this rivalry means. I also went over to Western Branch and talked to Lou Johnson about what this rivalry means. Lou Johnson is now a consultant with the Western Branch team. He says he's excited to see this thing finally happen. And then I spoke to Breepon Harrell, the quarterback at Western Branch, whose father, Clarence, was one of the stars that played against D'Angelo Hall back in the day. So this is a game that they hope will continue. They like the rivalry. They're hoping the fans come out. I remember the days when they used to have 8,000 fans at the games. Probably won't have that many this time, but it's a nice rivalry. It's good for the city of Chesapeake as well. And it's funny because now it's the first time we get to hear Deep Creek Western Branch rivalry. It should be fun. It should be a fun game.
Yeah, Deion Dyer's an assistant coach now at Deep Creek. We saw some pictures of him back in the day. He was a big dude, number 44, running back, went on to Penn State, I think. You know, this game, though, matches pretty some up-and-coming teams. You know, Western Branch has played well in spurts. Deep Creek is 2-0, so what do you expect in this game?
I think Deep Creek is still young. They're playing well right now. They're undefeated coming in, but Western Branch has also been tested. I mean, they played Lake Taylor in the season opener. Then last week they had a tough game against Kings Forks. I think they're a little bit more battle tested, but it should be a good game. I know Deep Creeks want to say, "Hey, look, we're here for real. You better take us, recognize with us." So
this will have playoff implications. They're not in the same division anymore. That was the other thing about the great rivalries of the past. You know, back in the 80s and 90s, they would play at the end of the season, and it was generally for big time playoff berth. So this one's meaningful, but not quite as meaningful. Third game of the season, so we'll see. So, well, thanks for joining us, everybody, and thanks again to our sponsor, Lionsbridge Financial Advisors. You can check them out at lionsbridgefinancial.com. And online you can check our picks out in the paper at the Virginian-Pilot on Friday, also online at 757Teamz.com. Also, go to the 757Teamz.com homepage and sign up for our twice-weekly newsletter. You'll get articles, you'll get picks, you'll get pictures, everything you need to get ready for high school football before the games and then after the games, late Friday night, early Saturday. You can follow us on Twitter at 757Teamz. Thanks for joining us, everybody.